Hello, everybody. Today I have a special guest who is no guest in my house because he's actually my husband. Today he is going to be opening this lovely package for you all, and the reason I am not opening it is because he ordered it and because we are just a two-crew team over here. You're not going to see me for a little while.
Hello, my name is Will Sandoval. I am Amy's husband, and it's my pleasure to be here to unbox this lovely, lovely record. So I'm gonna take my handy dandy knife, which I keep in my back pocket. Let's see what happens.
You keep that in your back pocket?
All the time. You just never know it.
Oh, good to know.
So I've gotta be careful. I don't want to damage. This record I ordered after many a day of research. There have been lots of reprints of this record with varying reviews of its quality. And because we are on a channel that is talking about sound, I figured why not go with the original pressing from 1975. So we are going, this is not the record. However, we should definitely do a Johnny Cash listening session because he is a treasure of American music. But I think what we're looking for is right here. It is here. Queen, A Night at the Opera. 1975. This album was the most expensive album to date in England, and it put Queen on the charts as official rock stars.
So now we are going to listen to Queen's Night at the Opera. We're going to listen to it, and then we're going to come back with our thoughts and feelings and all that good stuff. So see you soon.
We've finished listening to side one, and we're about to flip it. But I thought I'd take a moment to show you the inside of the album. We have some artwork up on the top corner over here. We have all the lyrics, which are pretty cool. There are pictures of the band, straight over there. And if we go to the cover, we have the, looks like, kind of like the crest of Queen, but more stylized for 1975, or for this album. And then we move from the back. We have the production credits and, again, some more artwork over there. It's pretty cool. So, we're going to flip to side two, and then we'll have a reaction. Be careful. Put it down like that. And then we press the start.
We just finished listening to Night at the Opera. We really discovered something exciting. It blew my mind, and I'm not ready to talk about it. Death on Two Legs. It's really aggressive, and I'm not used to hearing them that aggressive, but it's kind of cool. One thing that I really loved, probably my favorite part of that whole song, is the bass player. I think it was his bass. It was just like a really cool interval, and I want to go back and listen to it again and figure out what that interval is, because I really, being a bass player myself, I love weird intervals in the bass lines. It's so ear-catching. It's great. I love it. One thing that we really took away from side one was that it was so disjointed, and it wasn't at all like one song led fluidly into the next. which is quite the opposite of my other video where we listened to Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. That is definitely one fluid, consistent idea, and Pink Floyd really is known for that. But I really was disappointed after listening to side A, because I felt like, what was that? You know, there were a lot of songs in there that sounded like parodies from like the 1930s, you know, very like, you know, it's 1930 and I'm going to Atlantic City and I'm gonna wear my weird bathing suit that they wore and play by the beach or something like that. It had a weird feel to it like that. You're My Best Friend. Not ever been my favorite at all. Don't like that song. I liked it. I appreciated it more being able to hear the depth of all the sound on the record, because you really do hear so much more than you're used to. But I think it's a PetSmart commercial or something. Like, I just think of dogs when I hear that song. I'm gonna jump to Sweet Lady. Maybe you could all do some homework, because this song, Sweet Lady, reminds me of a song, and it was driving me nuts the whole time I was listening to it. And then finally I realized what song it was, and I was like, I know I've taught this song before, I know it. And I figured it out. Aerosmith, Mamakin. I think that they sound very similar, to the point where as we're listening to Sweet Lady, I'm like, na, 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 na. Like I could hear Mamakin. Seaside Rendezvous. Again, that one was very 1930s. People jumping around by the beach in 1930s bathing suits. That's what I see. Prophet Song. My favorite song on the whole album. And yes, Bohemian Rhapsody is on this album. I have to say though, the Prophet Song is pretty amazing in, I think, the same way, but I don't know. It's just, it was unreal. It had a very magical feel to it, and the vocal harmonies were amazing. And like, I want to listen to that one again. And the way that they were layering things, I just found incredible. Oh yeah, Love of My Life. I really loved the intro. I've never really listened to that song from the very beginning before, but the guitar harmonics sounded really beautiful with the piano. And I don't know, I think just the tone of the piano and the specific tone of those guitar harmonics, they just blended so well. And I've never really heard harmonics and the piano kind of blended like that before. It really caught my ear. Okay, I think I'm ready. So we noticed on side one, there were all these parody, silly songs that had this light kind of feel to them. And then we got to Bohemian Rhapsody. And then as soon as you get to I See a Little Silhouette of a Man, we're like, oh my gosh, that completely makes the whole album cohesive. Like with the parody, different songs, tied it all together. My mind is blown, because I always felt like when you got to that part of Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like, where is this coming from? I don't know, it's kind of like out of left field, but okay. And it was one cohesive idea. And I want to point out that in the album, they write down no synthesizers with an exclamation point. I have very mixed feelings on this. I can completely appreciate that as musicians, they took pride in making sure that they made a point that everything that you hear was 100% coming from them. It was their voices, it was their drums, their guitar, their bass. It was all them. It was even a ukulele that they make a point to say, genuine aloha ukulele. And then they write, made in Japan. I think that's funny. So going back to the synthesizers, I get it, but you know, when we compare, we're not going to compare it. You can't compare this to something else, really. It stands in a class of its own. But when we listen to Pink Floyd, I am just in awe of what they did with synthesizers. Like, I listen, I'm like, oh, that's that Moog. That's so cool that, you know, they really pioneered a synthesized sound. But any way you can manipulate sound, I say do it. I think it can be an extension of your creativity. And I just think that it's a little sad that they have to write no synthesizers with an exclamation point. I don't know. Pink Floyd was doing it. They're amazing too. Just saying. All right, it's Will's turn now.
All right. So as Amy said, I knew a little bit more about this album before we got it. And just like Amy, I was a little confused by the end of side one. I thought there would be more cohesiveness. And when we finished side one, I even said, this is kind of a bit of a true collaboration. You definitely had a lot of the different band members equally showing their talent. And one thing I thought was very interesting, it's not just the Freddie Mercury show. There's Roger Taylor singing I'm in Love with My Car, which, by the way, it's such a great song. It's passionate. And as much as I want to say, oh, it's a suggestive song, I just really think he's in love with his car. It's just so authentic. But you have Brian May singing 39, which is an unexpected time travel song. Going on to some of the other things we talked about, the silly songs. But the songs were, like Amy said, they seemed like they were a parody. They seemed like they were like from a Marx Brothers movie, which, by the way, that is how this album got its name, A Night at the Opera. It was named after the Marx Brothers movie. Songs like You're My Best Friend, that's a really popular one. I noticed in that one you could hear the oohs better on this record. Specifically, I could hear a lot more background harmonies more clearly than I'm used to hearing in songs that I know really well. Which brings me to that sound. When you have that operatic sound in Bohemian Rhapsody, that's not the only place you hear it. It's all over this album. This album has that sound of not only them harmonizing, but layering themselves, sometimes all four-part harmony layered upon four-part harmony to get this very, very unique sound. And I think that when it comes to the no synthesizers thing they have here, I definitely would have to give them credit for being that creative in their audio engineering department for the technology they had to work with at the time. I think that's very impressive. Prophet Song, which, as we said before, I'm going to say again, probably the most underrated Queen song to date that I've heard of. This song, well, first of all, it starts off and it makes me think that Jack Black and Tenacious D must have taken inspiration from this song. Lyrically and even vocally, it is just very, has a lot of weird attitude. That's all I can say about it. But then it morphs into a magical sound and they go a cappella. And not only are they doing it a cappella, but then they're mixing it in so many ways. And then the drums come in and then it gets bigger and then softer and you think it's over, but then it's big again. And then Brian May comes in with this instrument called the toy koto to finish it off and then go into a harp to get into Love of My Life. Side 2, if anything, is the cohesive side. And then in Love of My Life, there are little chord progressions that are found in Bohemian Rhapsody where he goes, any way the wind blows. It's all there. It's preparing you for the big finale. I never realized that the joke of this song, the operatic part it's the punchline to the album. You're asking yourself, why all these silly songs? What do they mean? It's a joke. Everything, the entire album, from the silliness to the passion to the anger of Death on Two Legs, is all found in Bohemian Rhapsody. Everything that they were feeling is wrapped up with that song. And for the first time in 20 or more years, I heard this song with new ears for what felt like the first time, and it gave me different new feelings and emotions, and it just made me feel a sense of catharsis and joy, like I completed something at the end of it. So definitely a great album, a classic album, but not in the way you would think. And I definitely think that not necessarily an album that's meant to be listened to from beginning to end every time, but for the true impact of Bohemian Rhapsody, it's worth listening to it from beginning to end at least once. I think it deserves its place in music history. So I'm going to bring it back to Amy now.
So those are our opinions. I would love to hear from you if you go ahead and listen to the album, what your thoughts are, especially if you never listened to it from the start to all the way to the end yourself. How did you feel? What caught your ear? What did you notice this time that maybe you never noticed before? Always give yourself that challenge. I would also love thoughts on synthesizers. No synthesizers? Synthesizers, or you're indifferent, whatever. All right, so subscribe, like the video, don't like the video, I don't care, it's your opinion. All right, and we'll see you next time.